You're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of ABK Media Group, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County every day at 9 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. So glad to be here with you today. Listen, we are about to close out this year. We are at December the 31st. Can you believe it? I mean, that time looked like it came so quick. I tell you, man, time doesn't stand still for anyone, so you got to be moving with it or it's going to run you, pass you by. I'm happy to be here with you this morning. Looking forward to a great new year. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I know some people are going to party all night and can't wake up in the morning, but that won't be me. Hopefully, God will wake me up in the morning, and I'll be right back here in the morning to, talk about your vision for 2019, because, listen, this was a great year, but we can make it a better year next year. Got a great guest on with you today. Normally, I start off the top of the hour talking about a nonprofit, but here's the great thing about my guest today. He owns a nonprofit. He's a partner in a nonprofit, but he's also a spiritual leader and healer. He's going to talk to us about how to use pure consciousness to change our mindset and change our lives, which we all need. I felt like this would be a great way to kick off the new year, talking about mindset, and how to change your mindset and how to move forward in the new year and how to live your best life ever. Because that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm planning on living my best life ever. Living my best life. Everybody know that song. Even though the name of the song is Smile, everybody thinks it's called Living My Best Life. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to Mr. Leon Moss. He is a spiritual healer. He is the author of Discovering the Power Within You. He is also a nonprofit owner, and he's going to talk to us today about some great stuff to help us move forward in 2019 and live a good life. Good morning, Dr. Leon. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're here with us this morning. I felt like this would be a great way to kick the show off because in January 1, between January 1 and January 31st, everybody's making plans and creating visions and, writing down goals. And I know that a lot of the times what we're trying to do, we have to change our mindset to get to those, to the goals and the plans and the visions that we set for ourselves. But before we get into that good stuff, I know that you have a nonprofit and it helps youth and the community do a lot of stuff. So tell us a little bit about yourself first. And then tell us about your nonprofit, and then we're going to get into the good stuff about spiritual healing and pure consciousness and what that means and how do you get to that state.
Very good. Very good. Well, to be honest, both of the nonprofit and the for-profit businesses is based around, the foundation is based around the same thing, which is developing or realizing your full potential, your highest potential. In addition to the foundation of that, we focus on helping homelessness or eradicating homelessness, as well as poverty on every level, spiritual, mental, physical, economical, and just fulfilling a need that people feel that they have.
So now
you asked me.
I'm sorry. I know when I read your bio and all the information about because I'm very passionate about youth coming up in this world that we live in with so much going on. Tell me a little bit about your nonprofit youth program.
Okay. Well, again, our nonprofit is called GLOLAUB. It's the acronyms are GLOLAUB, which stands for Global Liberation of Love and Universal Devotion. Our youth program is based on, again, helping the youth realize their fullest potential or their highest potential. We have children who feel like they are experiencing anxiety at early ages in life when they should be really enjoying life at this level, but because of the pressure of lacking or the pressure of succeeding and watching parents and watching the suffering throughout the globe, it creates a fear inside of them of not succeeding. They have a pressure around them that they feel that if they don't succeed, or this fear of not fulfilling their goals or their dreams. In Gwinnett County alone, it's a huge population of homelessness within the school system, and not knowing or unbeknown to a lot of residents here, Gwinnett County is the second largest county in Georgia with homelessness.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, a lot of them are right in our school. So you could just imagine, what they're hiding inside from their peers when they're experiencing these types of conditions. So we're here to help eradicate that.
Oh, and that's so cool. I had family members travel for Christmas from Jersey to here, and I call her my sister-in-law. She's my daughter's aunt, but she's still like my sister-in-law. And I call her kids my nieces and nephews. But her middle son, he had straight anxiety because she wants to move here. And he's 13 years old. And he had so much anxiety about just taking the trip till they had to put him on medication. They had to give him some medication just to calm him down, just to take the trip from Jersey to Georgia. Because she said to him, she was here in October, and she loved it so much. She went back home and she told the kids, we're going to move to Georgia. And the other two were great, but the middle child he was so anxious and so nervous about the move. They had to put him on medication for a few days. So he took the medication coming. He didn't take any medication while he was here. And so he said to her, they were sitting in the kitchen, just the two of them, and he said to her, this feels like home. This feels really good and safe, and I felt so good when she said that to me. And she asked him, do you think you can make the move? And he said, yes. As a matter of fact, none of the kids wanted to go back. They were like, we're going to stay. We'll wait till you get back. And it was so funny. But you are right. It's so much pressure on these young kids. That's why I think you see so much suicide. I've never seen suicide rates so high amongst young kids than I've seen now. And I think it's crazy.
That's right. Yes, anxiety is a big problem. My son had huge amounts of it at one time, too. And we were able to raise him above it. That young man, he was afraid of change. Most people are afraid of change. And so they're afraid of starting over again. So he's used to his friends, his environment. And so when she was talking about changing, for whatever reason, that middle child was afraid of the change, of starting all over again, needing new friends and all of that. And all of that is based on the lack of awareness of your full potential or your true self.
And I know that's what it was. It was so funny though, because I know that well, you know what? I remember when my mother moved us to New Jersey. I was 12 years old, and I cried all the way to Jersey. And I tell the story all the time. I cried all the way to Jersey, and I've lived there most of my life. But I always felt like my home was Georgia, which I was born in Georgia. Yeah. But I had anxiety. Yeah. But once I got to Jersey, and it was totally different. It's like culture shock. I got used to, being around my friends and everything. Now, when it was time for me to come back, I had no anxiety at all. I was like, I'm going to Georgia, and that's where I'm going to live out my last days. And I told my husband that. Now, he had anxiety. And then once he got here, he said to me, we should have done this earlier. And I was like, man, I told you that years ago. Stop it. So now he's okay with it. Now, I know you talk a lot about, you said, I know on your website you talk about pure consciousness and how to get to that stage and how it can help you with depression and anxiety and addiction and, things like that. And there's a lot of that going around, depression. Like, what is depression? What do you think depression is? And is it something that people can cure? Do they need a pill for it? Or is there something they can do naturally to help them?
Well, synthetic drugs is never the answer. It only covers up like a Band-Aid the problem. So the root of depression is lack of awareness of the true self. And the true self is based in consciousness. We're talking about consciousness. Pure consciousness is your normal state of consciousness. But our normal state of consciousness, we don't focus on our consciousness because we're distracted by what we see, feel, touch, and hear and smell, the five senses. So our attention is drawn out, so person, places, and things. So those who are developing spiritually, when you're on that path, you redirect your attention inwardly. And during that redirecting, you eventually discover your normal levels of consciousness. So it's really not a big thing. It's not really a deep thing. It's just society made it into this deep thing or this strange thing, or they made it into something strange when we're only talking about normal levels of consciousness.
Now, how do you? What are some steps to get to pure consciousness, and how do you do that? How do you become, self-aware? Your true self-awareness. How do you do that? Like, what are some steps to doing that?
Well, the first step is to find out who's here right now, because your normal state of consciousness is always right now. Your mind, once you start understanding how the mind works, it's easy to rediscover your true self. If you take notice of your thought, it's always focusing on some thought of the past or some idea of the future. 90% of the time, if you just sit still enough to pay attention to your thoughts, it's going to be talking about the past or future. It's very rarely focusing in right now, except when you're doing something like, let's say, doing your homework, or you're doing your homework, and even when you're doing your homework, your mind may drift into some thought of 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, a day ago, a year ago, or some projection of tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now, or a year from now, or 100 years from now. So, you have to learn to retrain your mind to focus in now. And then by doing that, you start to witness how your thoughts are moving at rapid speeds from past to future.
Okay. So let me see if I understand what you're saying. So right now, and I know you probably talked about this book, and I read a little bit of it, The Power of Now. Okay, so right now I'm sitting here, I'm focused on what you're saying. I'm focused on doing this show. I'm in the moment right now. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm not even thinking about 10 minutes ago. I'm thinking about right now. But how do you, because I know a lot of people right now, they're thinking about the party tonight. They're thinking about, oh my God, what didn't go right this year. They're thinking about what I want to do next year. And those thoughts just coming, it's kind of hard to turn them off. So give me a couple of steps to turn that stuff off. And then what's the being right now in this moment, what does that do for you? Like, what does it do for you? Because I'm thinking about my goals for not even tomorrow, for next year, why is it so important to be right in the power of now, like right now, versus thinking about tomorrow? Why is it so important?
Very good. Well, right now is an omnipresent state of existence. It's so when we're not focusing right now, we're not putting the full power of now or omnipresent into whatever we're doing. And so we're like half-cocked. It's like, I know people might have heard the term half-cocked. You're going into something half-cocked. You know what I mean? So when let's say if you're shooting arrows, you want to hit the bullseye. So your attention got to be completely focused on hitting that bullseye. So when your attention is fully focused in now, then you'll be able to take your ideas and what you want to do, even though you're thinking of your ideas, but you're returning into now and putting your full attention in now to realize your idea or to make your idea a reality. Most people spend more time focusing on the end result than appreciating the steps that it takes to get to the end result. So it's okay to visualize, because you have to visualize what you want to bring into existence, but you can't stay there. You have to return into now. Just like your past, most people are experiencing anxiety and domestic violence and all of those things because of memories of the past, which are not happening right now. I mean, the memory is occurring right now, but the activity of what you're remembering has long gone, like a dream. But you're holding on to a particular experience and you bring in that experience into your now, so your now is not fresh, and you're not utilizing the fullness and the power of now to make your existence better, to make your now existence better and your tomorrow better.
Wow, you know, and
that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. I met a lady. I interviewed her last year, as a matter of fact, and I helped her write a book. And she wrote a book, and we did a video interview with her to put it on our network, you know, to help her promote the book and tell her story. Her story was so, I can't say unbelievable. It was just horrendous. And it was the abuse that she went through. And I'm talking about an educated, powerful woman. But the abuse that she lived with was crazy. And as she sat there and told that story, she had everybody, and we were like videotaping, she had everybody in the room in tears. And because the story was so crazy, it sounded like something off Lifetime. But she was still living in it, even though she had made her way out of it. I helped her write the book. She had written the book. She was still living in that abuse that she was in, and she's doing well now. Her abuser, I think he killed himself. But he threatened her so much that she was constantly living it. Even when he was not threatening her, she was still living in that. Now she's doing a lot better. But it took a long time for her to get to that point, she said, and I think she still kind of go through it a little bit. So you're right. If you're focused on yesterday, you're not living in right now, because you're still focused on yesterday. And I love what you said when you said you have to focus on right now to get to tomorrow, and that makes a lot of sense, because my goal is to get this show to 1 million downloads. So if I don't focus right now, that won't happen tomorrow. That makes a lot of sense.
That's right. People are living in a time trap. You're actually traveling back in time in your mind and reliving the fullness of that experience. People, you've heard stories of time travel. Well, all of that is taking place right in your mind. And so I've experienced people like that young lady that you described, who was reliving a terrible abuse from her father when she was young. And we're sitting at the table, 30 years later eating, and she breaks out in tears because she's reliving that experience. She literally traveled back in time and felt the pain, and smelt the aroma. I mean, all of her senses was activated, which she was actually reliving that experience right then. So we were able to bring her into now and help her realize that none of that is taking place right now. It's just a memory. It's like a dream. It's a dream that happened to your physical body, but not your pure self, because your pure self is consciousness. You're more than just a body and thoughts and feelings, emotions. You're more than that. And most people are not discovering the more of what they are, the most of what they are, which is the conscious you. And people will say, well, conscious, if you're awoke, you're conscious. Like when you come, out of sleep, or if you was knocked out and you wake up, you're conscious. Well, there's levels of consciousness. You could be body conscious, where a lot of people are there in the gym and they're working out, and they're looking in the mirror and they're looking at their muscles and their waist, and that's where they're focusing, body conscious. Then some people are thought conscious. They're just they're aware of they're very intellectual. Everything is mind. It's about learning as much information as you can, but there's no pure awareness that you're separate from the thoughts and the body. And then you can be conscious of or somewhat conscious of your emotions. Your emotions are all over the place. Women go through cycles, every month. And a lot of people say women are more emotional than men, but it's about the same. Men and women are very emotional at different times. Women can be a little bit more emotional during those times because, they're dealing with universal cycles. But you're not just your emotions. You can get control of your emotions just by realizing that you're not the emotion or the energy that's moving in that moment. You're not that. You're witnessing that. You're witnessing thought. You're witnessing body. But you have to discover the witness you. And in that discovery, you'll feel the separation from you, the one who is just pure consciousness, and the one who is feeling and experiencing and thinking. It's a separation there. in that separation is your power. Is your power, because that omnipresent you is all powerful. You'll feel it right away once your attention is shifted in there. Because there's no more fear of death, because you can't destroy consciousness. You can, only the body can dematerialize and return to the dust of the ground. Emotions and thoughts, they're constantly changing. The only thing that doesn't change is the witness of the change, and that is the real you.
Now let me ask you this: how do you make that shift though? How do you go? Because I'm sitting here thinking about people. Like, I've been in situations, in meetings, and I'm talking to somebody, and I see their greatness, and I tell them I see your greatness, and they hear me say I see your greatness, because I can see their greatness, I can see their superpower, right? And I'm telling them that, and the next voice they say to me, I have to do something different because it's not good enough. Even after I say, man, that's wonderful. Oh, my God, you're great. Oh, that's great what you're doing. I say that. And even though they heard me say that to them, it's just still not enough. How do you get people to make that mind shift where they say, you know what? This is who I am. This is my pure self. I'm going to accept me for who I am. I know that I'm great, because a lot of people don't feel like they're great. How do you get them to make that mind shift? How do they get to pure awareness and pure consciousness? How do they make that shift?
You have to experience it. It's not something that someone can tell you. Like, I can point to it, or you can point to it. Like, that's what you're doing. You're saying, I see the greatness in you, but you're, and they might be listening to you, and they want to believe you, but they're not actually experiencing it. Because until you tap into your power and it's an actual experience, it will just be information, and information constantly comes and goes. It's just something, another concept, another learned doctrine. Most people, the people on the planet, the problem with everyone on the planet right now, the reason why we're not coming together as a human race is because of thinking without awareness. There's so much thought, but there's no awareness of the true self. And it's the same in everybody, almost like the scriptures say, that same light that light every being that comes into the world. We're not identifying the self as the breath of life, which is pure consciousness. Life and light is the same. It's the light of consciousness. Once the light of consciousness is on, everything else is within it. And so you feel the omnipotence of your true self when you're actually experiencing it. So what we do is we help people shift their attention from thought to being, or from thought to pure consciousness. And the scriptures say, be still and know that I am. You have to be still enough to observe thought and feeling and breath, because you're not making yourself breathe. You're not in control of that. The human mind wants you to believe that you're in control, but you're not in control of your breathing. That's an intelligence that's happening all by itself, like your blood flow or your immune system. All of that is working from universal intelligence. So you're not in control, but you're trying to control everything, but you're not surrendering to the universal intelligence, which again is pure consciousness. So it's something that you have to experience. I could tell you all day, but once what we do, we shift your attention in there so it'll be an actual experience. And then you have to maintain that discipline by spending time as your true self. Because no matter what, even if I shift your attention in that space, then it will eventually, the world will consume you, because it's physical, person, place, thing. You got to go to work, you got to get a job, you got to take care of the kids, you got to do this, you got to do that. You know what I mean? I want this, I want that. But the pure self does not need, it does not want, and you have to tap into that which does not need, which does not want, and then you can utilize the combination of what you may want to experience in this realm and the awareness of your true self. That combined will empower you and make your life joyful and peaceful, and happiness will be your everyday experience all the time.
And you know, it's so funny you were saying that. My niece is in college here in Georgia. She lives she lives with me now. She's been here for the last 4 years. But she goes to Georgia Southern University. And she was going to Atlanta. She and a friend, they were on break, and she was driving through a small town called a county called Twiggs, and she was speeding. And she got a ticket. She had a big ticket because she was going a little fast. And I had to go to court with her last week for the ticket. Now my niece is she's an on time person. She's super organized. She is the most organized person I know. And so we go to court. And we're sitting in court, so she's nervous because, she got this ticket. And I'm in court with her. And so this guy gets, and I have to tell the story because what you're saying makes so much sense. So this guy gets up there, and he's 20 years old, the same age as she. And so he got arrested. He got a ticket for driving while smoking weed and speeding. And so he walked out of the court with a ticket of $800. So I'm thinking, well, heck. $800, okay, she'll be okay. So that's what so automatically I'm figuring, okay, she's gonna be okay, because I'm thinking her ticket's gonna be about $800 to $1,000 too. So if he got $800 ticket and he was speeding and smoking weed, okay, so hers is probably gonna be a little bit less than that. Yeah. So when she get ready to go up there, she goes in front of the judge. And the judge was pretty, he was pretty cool. It was like watching one of the judge shows on TV, which I hate all of them. My mother loves them. But just to watch him for that few minutes, I was like, oh my God, this is like watching one of the judge shows. Because he was kind of funny, but he wasn't really trying to, and I don't know, was he in the holiday spirit or whatever it was? But he was kind of lenient, I should say, on most of the people that went up there. So it was my niece's turn to go up there. So the whole time she said, I'm going to get my paycheck tomorrow and I'm going to put this much towards the ticket. She's such a considerate person. So her tuition is pretty expensive. So my brother pays the tuition. He pays her rent at college because she lives off campus. So they spend a lot of money. And she's very conscious of that. So she felt so guilty that she had this ticket and she didn't know how much it was going to cost. But anyway, to make a long story short, she goes before the judge, and before she goes before the judge, there's another girl from Georgia Southern that goes right before her, like she's before her. She was doing 91 on the 70 miles per hour speed limit, and he gave her an assignment she had to do. She had to do a report and send it in about all the children who had died because they were speeding, which I thought that was a good lesson. And he gave a $150 fine. So my niece was doing a 96 and a 70. And when she went before him, I could see the judge start laughing. And I didn't, because I could only see the back of her head. But anyway, the judge is laughing. He's like, he's trying to talk to her about the seriousness of what she's done. But then he keeps busting out into like these little giggles. And I'm like, well, what is he laughing about? And so he tells her, your fine is $100. And you have to do the same report. He didn't suspend her license or anything, so she said, okay, so she walked down, and then we leave. And as soon as we closed the door to the courtroom, she just bust out and started crying. And I said to her, what's wrong? I mean, you got a slap on the wrist, And she's like, oh my God, I've been holding that in so long. She's a perfectionist, and so she's always living in the future. Like she's constantly in the future. And I said to her, you have to relax and live a little bit. Like you're only 20 years old and you're already in the future so far ahead till you're making yourself crazy. You know what she said to me? Auntie, you're absolutely right. I have to figure out how to get a hold of this thing. And I said, there was no perfect man, just Jesus. You got to relax a little bit. I thought I was really strung out like that. She's worse. And she's 20 years old. So, I know what you're saying is so true. And I feel like people, they live so far in advance, they forget about the moment. So as we were driving back home, we were in the country, literally in the country, where you didn't see nothing but maybe like a house. You may see a mobile home. And I said to her, I bet these people don't have a care in the world, really, because they are living off the land. They're not worried about the future. They're just worried about right now. And she looked around and I said, this may be a little extreme for us, but just think about that for a moment. You got to think about right now and stop living so far into the future that you forget to live right now. And she was like, I'm going to start doing that. So she's in Jersey right now, living her best life.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, not only is it all that pressure build up and anxiety of anticipating what could happen, and that causes tumors and ulcers. It's destroying and building up energy, and it's wreaking havoc in your body. Not only in your mind, but in your body. So a lot of and tumors and all of these
your phone is
anxiety
breaking up
or stress build up. Okay.
I'm losing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. You heard, but I was talking about the buildup of energy.
No, we missed that part. Yeah, we missed that part.
Causing injury. Okay, yes. So yes, living in now, all of nature is in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Animals, everything but human beings are living fully in a lot from nature just by studying that or realizing that they're in now. It's the human mind that is polluted. And we, like you said at the beginning of your show, we must change the way we're thinking or our perspective of how. It's not so much as what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. Are you fully present when you're doing it, or is your mind drifting into some illusionary state of thinking without awareness? Eckhart Tolle says that in his book, The Power of Now. Thinking without awareness is the... There are several of us that are out here awakening humanity. This is what they call enlightenment, is awareness of present self. Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscience is attributes given to God only. God is everywhere. It's the human. It's been conditioned from birth to believe itself to be than what it truly is. Its initial essence. It's not deep. It's only deep because people have never been asked the question, who are you really? And when you ask that question, most people will give you their name, or they'll point to their body, or they'll point to some personality or some other thought of where they came from and who was their parents and all that. That is the manifested part of you. But the essence of who you are is pure. Realize that there's no more low self-esteem. There's no more hate. There's no more jealousy. There's no more competition because you're recognizing and you're bowing to the divinity. But you're cautious of the conditioned mind because, you're acknowledging the light that's with, aware that the mind has been tainted, so you're not a fool. So you have to, you have to deal with these mental beings that are coming your way and realize either are they sick? It's not personal. It's not personal. It's an alcoholic or a drug addict. It's an addiction. It's an addiction to not being who you really are.
Wow. That is so cool. Listen, we are at the end of the show. I am so happy that I got a chance. We had a little bit of in and out, but listen, Dr. Leon, where can people find out more information about who you are, what you do, and how you can help them? And if you have any upcoming events, please share that information now.
Very good. I have two websites. I have two books called Omni You. You can find them both on my websites. At glowloud.org, GLO. And also our for-profit business is called Omni You, and it's spelled with a zero, not a O, but a zero, I-U, yes, 0MINU. And that's where you can find that. We have an event tomorrow at 11 o'clock, just to get, if anybody wants to meet me or get familiar with some more of what we're doing and what we're sharing. We're going to be at the coffee shop in Lawrenceville. I think it's called Boulder Creek Coffee Shop, and it's at Lawrenceville, Georgia, and we will be there at 11:30 to 12:30 or 1 o'clock, something like that. Yes.
So can you give that address again to Boulder Creek Coffee, because you went out a little bit, and I'm going to put this in the notes on this site, his website. I also put the address to the location tomorrow, but just for those who may be driving, and if you are driving, please go to goodmorninggwinnett.com, and that it is going to be there on the information about the website and how you can get in touch with Dr. Leon, and also the event tomorrow. Is that event a paid event or a free event tomorrow?
It's a free event. It's a free event. It's just a meet and greet, and however we want to do it, just to introduce myself. And if you have any concerns or want to share anything, I'm there for you. It's free. Yes.
Okay.
And the address again is 233 Krogan, Crogan Street, Lawrenceville, Georgia, 46, I believe. It's called the Boulder Creek Coffee Shop.
Okay, cool. So listen, I'm gonna put that information in the show notes. Be sure to stop by tomorrow at 11:30 if you don't have anything planned. It's New Year. Come out and get your mindset right. Spend some time with Dr. Leon. Let him help. It was a lot of stuff we didn't get to because the show is only half an hour and we're already over that time. But he does a lot of stuff with chakras and cleanings and healings and all of that great stuff. So if you are not busy tomorrow, or if you have the hangover, you need to start all over again after tonight, come out tomorrow 11:30 and hang out with Dr. Leon. I'm sure he'll help you get back on track and get it together for the new year. That's the end of our show for right now. I want to thank you again, Dr. Leon, for being my guest today. I will be back again tomorrow talking about your vision for 2019. Listen, I got a big bodacious goal. I keep saying on every show, trying to get to 1 million downloads, 1 million subscribers, whichever comes first, or maybe they'll come together. Help me by doing that, by sharing the show. And I'm happy to announce, I'm going to make the announcement tomorrow. I'll make that one for tomorrow. But listen, thanks again for being here, and we're going to be back again tomorrow. Until next time, make it a great day.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in daily at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you miss an episode, go to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com to catch up. If you like this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the show now and share it with your friends.